What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the second of 3 mid-year lists that I'll be doing on this channel. It's time to talk about some of the most brutalist, most headbangingest, most face-smeltingest metal albums of 2017 thus far. Back from the studio, back on that mid-year album list grind, and what better way to jump back into things? Personally, I feel so much better separating metal from the rest of the music that I listen to because comparing Dying Fetus to like 2 Chainz is such a weird thing to me. Plus, the metal industry kind of exists as its own little self-contained universe anyway. Like, the metal industry has always felt separate from the music industry to me. So this whole metal, non-metal thing works for me, at least for now. Man, I really wish we could have done a top 15 here, because getting this down to 10 albums, those last 5 in particular were so tough for me to eliminate. I gotta put my foot down. This is a top 10, and there are bigger problems in the world than me not getting to talk about a few albums on camera for like 100 people. As always, I gotta stress for the millionth time, we're just talking about my favorite records here, as dictated by my taste. I'm not trying to say that X record is better than Y record. In fact, especially towards the middle of this list, I really wouldn't pay that much attention to the order, because the bottom line here is just that I love all these records and I want to spread the gospel on them. So yeah, let's get into it. My top 10 favorite metal albums of 2017 thus far. Getting that coveted 10th slot is Warbringer with Woe to the Vanquished. Warbringer is a band that I've been aware of since their first record back in 2008. They were kind of part of that younger generation thrash revival that heated up about a decade ago with bands like Evil and Warbringer, Lazarus AD at the time, Havok as well. It was a movement that I was very much aware of, but I was still listening to all my classic bands. And Warbringer's music never really jumped out at me as anything special, but Woe to the Vanquished fucking impressed the shit out of me. It's derivative in all the right ways without just being a nuts-on recreation of late 80s thrash. The songs like the title track and Divinity of Flesh, they have some extreme metal elements that are tossed in there. And then of course there's a track like the closer, When the Guns Fell Silent, which is this 11-minute absolute epic with some dramatic acoustic guitars and more of like a mid-tempo march in points. If I had to describe it, this record is like a darker late 80s Exodus, but with a more modern sound and a couple more tricks up its sleeve. I would never sit here and tell you that this record breaks any new ground or anything, but it is everything I love about thrash metal wrapped into one record. And to me, if we're talking about throwback thrash records that came out this year, compared to that Power Trip record that everyone hyped the shit out of, this one's better. Sorry. At number 9, the new Firewind record, Immortals. Did not expect anything from this record other than a somewhat generic, underwhelming power metal release. But instead, what I got is an album that is generic in every positive way, in that it accounts for so much of power metal's appeal in 44 minutes. You've got some sick throwback metal riffing on songs like Back on the Throne. You've got the obligatory big ballad with Lady of a Thousand Sorrows. You have epic, vivid tales of battle and war, especially on a song like Ode to Leonidas, which is actually based on the same war that the movie 300 is based on. Gus G throughout this record is such a treat to listen to on lead guitar. I love his licks. And he really shines especially on the instrumental title track. Yeah, this is a record that gave me and continues to give me so much when I expected so little. And it's actually the first record of the year that I really loved back in January. At number 8, another unexpected W for 2017, the new Body Count record, Bloodlust. You can check out my review for this thing, but basically Ice-T and Co. just upped the fucking metal to 11 on this record, while still centering the songs around urban street themes and politics and race issues. That combination just makes for a really unique, thrilling listening experience. You pair Ice-T's street talk and socio-political commentary and just straight ahead, no bullshit toughness with legitimately mean, heavy riffs, and you get amazing songs like the title track, No Lives Matter, This Is Why We Ride, Ski Mask Way. Man, this album rules. And definitely, by far, the best workout album of any on this list. At number 7 is Creator with Gods of Violence. This classic thrash band these days is fusing that trademark thrash assault with a sound that is very much melodic death metal centered, and at times even classic metal leaning, like on super anthemic cuts on here like Hail to the Hordes, or Fallen Brother. Side by Side is another one. Even though personally, I like Creator best when they're at their most aggressive. Like on this album, there's the blistering World War Now. There's the impossibly heavy chorus in Army of Storms. I appreciated their commitment to hooky songs more than I thought I would. Even though, Extreme Aggression Creator or Pleasure to Kill Creator is kind of my favorite, these songs were just huge. And I'm glad I kept an open mind to this record because I've continued to enjoy it more and more since it came out back in January, so it's been 6 months now. Dying Fetus, wrong one to fuck with. This is one of the most relentless metal records of the year. As I explained in my full review, my favorite thing about Dying Fetus, and this record in particular, is their ability to just hop from super techie noodle fest to slam riff to moshy hardcore part to 90s death metal breakdown. These songs being constantly in flux is part of why they don't bore me like many of Dying Fetus's contemporaries do. This is definitely a record that you need in your life if you love aggression in all of its forms, all of its speeds, or if you just love death metal. Okay, our first entry into the top 5 is the band Hate with their new record Tremendum. As I gushed in my full review, this is a very unexpected, very ballsy left turn for this band, in that their music has always just walked this line between black metal and death metal, and on this record they just, boom, chose a side, 20 years into their career. Tremendum answers a question that I never thought would get answered. What would Hate sound like if they just dropped most of the death metal from their sound and just started playing straight up black metal? Well, it turned out better than I would have thought. On this record, Tremendum's actually shaping up to be one of my favorite records by this band, period. So I just love that they took that leap on this album because it turned out fantastic. At number 4, another fantastic death metal release, Immolation with Atonement. It was hard to miss this one if you're a fan of this genre, but in case you did, this is the New York death metal legends at their absolute best. This record is as evil and foreboding as it is bludgeoning. The riffing on songs like Rise of the Heretics and Fostering the Divide and the dissonant title track is just, it's all just so beautifully ugly. Just, This record is a death metal clinic from front to back. At number 3, just barely edging out Immolation, is Goatwhore with their 7th record, Vengeful Ascension. What do I love about this record most? Believe it or not, the sound of it. I just have gotten so sick of robotic, mechanical, soulless, overproduced modern metal. And this LP is such a breath of fresh air in that it just sounds so damn human. It sounds like the band just plugged in and played. And the black metal thrash metal blend just never gets old for me. That, and I love Ben's vocals. I love how his voice allows the riffs and the playing to really jump out front and center. And his vocals are just more of like another sonic texture that helps set the mood, rather than like an over-the-top, in-your-face distraction like a lot of extreme metal vocals are. These songs just have so much breathing room. They're so easy to listen to. So for number 2, these last 2 slots were brutal because I love these records so much, but I'm gonna give number 2 to Havok's amazing thrash opus Conformicide. I will never have enough good things to say about this record. I actually hadn't paid much attention to this band before this, but now I'm fucking forced to. Their frontman, David Sanchez, on this record is like Dave Mustaine in his prime if he sang in Creator. He just merges that Mustaine snarl with the piercing shriek of a Milli Petroza or a Zetro. And tying in the Megadeth comparison, the lyrics on a lot of this album, especially on a song like the opener FPC or Fuck Political Correctness, the lyrics would have made P-Cell's era Mustaine proud. But most importantly, of course, there's the musical component to this album. Twisting, winding riffs, pummeling drums, and the number one thing that I need to compliment, bassist Nick Shenzialos? I don't fucking know, I think that's how you pronounce it. His bass playing on this album is out of this world. Conformicide is going to go down as one of the best thrash metal albums for bass guitar in history. And I don't think I need to stress why that's important. You rarely see bassists get any love in metal, and to see him right up front in the mix, battling it out with the guitars with these incredible, intricate bass lines, it almost makes me cry. And number 1, a record I reviewed over 4 months ago and still blows me away, Obsidian Arc, the debut album from Pelorian, led by ex-Agalloch frontman John Hamm. This record manages to be bleak and grim and despairing and apocalyptic sounding at times, but menacing and evil and tormented, all within the same parameters. And as I kind of just indicated, it is a very heavy emotional listen for me. Maybe it's because this came out during a snowstorm, I don't know, but every time I listen to this record, I just get engulfed in this dark world where all hope and promise and joy and bliss just get crushed by these closing walls of devastation. It's a fucking powerful record, man. And what's notable here too, of course, is that other than the closing track, Darkest River of Man, which is an Agalloch type song, this record is John Hamm's big foray into straight up black metal. Because Agalloch, while they obviously had some hugely significant black metal elements in their sound, they weren't always classifiable as straight up black metal in the classic sense. But this record is, and it surpasses any and all expectations. It is fucking tremendous. By the Light of a Black Sun, I should single out as maybe my favorite metal song of the year so far, but all 48 minutes here are... If I were to pick one record from the last 6 months to just listen to over and over and over and over again, it's this one. And that about does it for my top 10 metal albums of 2017 thus far. Let me know in the comments if any of these were albums that you also enjoyed. And if you haven't heard some of them, definitely check them out. That's why I do this. I love nothing more than to introduce great new music into your life. And if I left out a couple of your favorite albums because I am an inconceivably inferior being, let me know about that in the comments as well. As always, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, or shoot me a message so we can continue to talk music, and I'll see you guys soon.